Hello, I'm Carl Tasca Jr. and I'm here with what may be the best supercar for the money on the market today. The 2023 Chevrolet Corvette Z06. And here are 5 cool things about the Z06. Number 1, carbon fiber, and a lot of it. Check out these wheels. 20s in the front, massive 21s in the back, stronger, lighter. When you combine the carbon fiber wheels with the ceramic brakes, you have less unsprung weight, faster acceleration, and a much more compliant ride on the road or the track. Number 2, trunk space. The traditional supercar provides nothing. When they designed this in Italy, they literally said, who needs a trunk? Buy another car. And on first glance, the Chevy Z06 doesn't give you much more. There's room for a small, useless duffel bag. But as we go to the back of the car, things change drastically. Behold the first practical mid-engine supercar. Over 350 cubic inches of storage space. I'm not good at math. That's more than the other car had. When you combine the front and the back trunk, you actually have a supercar you can use, which the easier it is to use, the more you'll drive it. Number 3, the key fob. Not only is the Corvette Z06 one of the few cars on the market where you can put the roof down with your key fob, it also has the best sounding remote start system on the planet. Number 4, the interior. This is, without question, the nicest interior ever fitted to a Chevrolet Corvette. Not only do you have some pretty cool colors, this is the everything red, as I like to call it, with the red suede, dripped in carbon fiber, door panels, center, the nicest steering wheel on any car under $200,000 I've ever seen. But you also have a lot of the creature comforts of a luxury car: heated and cooled seats, heated steering wheel, Apple CarPlay, plus an incredible amount of adjustability. You can make this car quiet, relaxed, or you can make it full-on ready to attack the track, literally from a press of a button or the twist of a knob. The easiest way to adjust the various drive modes is from this little twisty knob here. So start off, we just went from touring to sport mode. The display changes a little bit. You can hear the exhaust get a little bassier. You can also see how the various driving settings have changed. We'll get back to that. Now from sport mode to track mode. In track mode, everything's turned up to 11. Steering, suspension, shift points, brake feel, engine sound. Plus you get a more track-inspired instrument cluster with just the gear you're in and your RPM. It's not as cluttered. It works in tandem with the heads-up display. Makes it much easier to know where you are on a track. Now let's say you don't want to take this car on the track, you actually want to live in it. Let's go back to touring mode. The whole car settles down. Steering, suspension, braking have all been put in their most comfortable modes. Shift points are still a little aggressive and the exhaust has a little bit of pop to it. Now going to boring mode, also known as weather mode. This is pretty much driving the Corvette Z06 when it's 85% asleep. The suspension, the transmission, the brakes, the engine, everything's been dialed down as much as possible. This is really designed if you're on a 3-hour cruise with your significant other and he or she does not like to actually know they're in a sports car. You can fool them by driving the car in this mode. Everything is very relaxed. The car shifts easily. The car sounds pretty quiet. Is it fun to drive in this mode? No, not really. But it is an alternative to being bounced around like it's a sports car. But one thing I have to say about the Z06, even in track mode, it's not a bad car to drive compared to some of its pricier competitors from Europe. Now, my favorite thing about the various ways you can set this car up is the Z mode. Press this button here, and now if you look at this screen, you immediately hear something's different in the car. But this is how I've personalized the car. I like the car to be loud. I like it to shift hard. I want it to be as comfortable as possible because I live in Rhode Island where we don't pave the roads. Moderate steering, moderate brake feel. But if I wanted to make an adjustment here, now I've made the engine as quiet as possible. A little louder, much louder. I've adjusted the suspension from sport to track, or cutting it all the way back to touring. Let's say you want the car to sound like it's going to the racetrack, but ride like you're going on a Sunday drive. You do that, and then it'll ask you if you want to confirm it. All those changes have just been made. Let's say I want to edit it again. This really allows you to customize the car as much as you want it, which is awesome because we all have our different preferences. And the best part about this is that everything is independent of everything else. You don't have to put up with the track ride to get the track sound like many of the European competitors to this car. The fifth cool thing about the Z06, and really the characteristic that defines the car, is the engine. Now, before we talk about the Z06, let's just talk about the C8 in general. The worst kept secret on the planet was that Chevrolet was developing a mid-engine Corvette. It took them like 50 years to get there, but God bless them, they did a great job. The regular C8 had incredible balance, an incredibly well-engineered chassis. When you drove the car, it was almost a little boring. It just handled the 500 horsepower V8 so well. You immediately knew all this car needs is more power, and it's going to be the best sports car for the money on the market, period. Corvette and Chevrolet, they could have done this in several different ways. They could have taken the existing V8 and added a supercharger as they had in previous generations. But this engine is General Motors' love letter to internal combustion. In a world where every day we're hearing about electrification this and electrification that, General Motors really took a step back and said, we've been in business for over 100 years. Let's use all of our talent to craft the finest internal combustion engine on the market. And that's what we have here. 5.5 liters, V8, flat plane crankshaft, 670 horsepower at 8,500 RPM. This engine is absolutely incredible. The extra displacement versus some of its European competitors gives it a much flatter torque curve. It makes it much more drivable. This engine is not a bipolar, high-strung European flat plane crankshaft V8. From idle to redline, this car makes power. However, being the flat plane crankshaft, this has the theater and the drama lacking in a cross-plane V8. This car is alive up until 3,500 RPM. From 3,500 to 5,000 RPM, it discovers itself. And from 5,000 to 9,000 RPM, it asserts itself. Just driving this car on the road easily and casually shifting it at 6,000 RPM on part throttle, it sounds incredible. But when you find the space and the courage to summon all 8,500 RPM, this car provides a driving experience unlike anything else currently on the market today. Ferrari doesn't make an engine like this anymore. Lamborghini used to make an engine like this, and now they've ended production on their V10. The closest thing I can compare this to is a 458 Ferrari, which is pretty high praise, given that that's probably the greatest flat plane crankshaft engine made in my lifetime. Another thing about this engine, aside from the sound, aside from the driving characteristics, is it's usable. You buy an exotic Italian, European supercar with this type of engine, and it comes with a list of what you can't do in it. You can't drive it in these conditions. You have to warm it up this way. You have to cool it down this way. This is still a Corvette, which means everyday supercar. So not only do you get an exotic high performance, absolutely thrilling driving experience. You get one you can use in the rain, in the cold weather, in the warm weather. It's 90 degrees today. This car is going to run well. In November, when it's 40 degrees, this car is still going to run well. You can drive it in the rain. You can drive it in pretty much everything other than snow because of the tire limitations. It's reliable. It's usable. It's absolutely incredible. Let's take it for a drive.